Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by the Hard Truth Distilling Company in Brown County, Indiana.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, it's time!
Three on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game!
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Float game for the win! Ayler's gone. Goodbye. Touchdown, Indy. Woo! IU. America. They got a football team now.
Pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Now, from the Hard Truth Studios, here's Jim Coyle.
Hey, everybody. Welcome aboard Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Tuesday, post-holiday Tuesday. Glad to have you along with us as we got a little bonus day this week, but it will cruise right along. Looking forward to it. And looking forward to Don Fischer joining us as well. And Coach Griff will be along as well to pick up over the weekend to see how things went. A lot of exciting football action. So if you are a sports fan, you had to enjoy the weekend. Big time. It was a lot of fun going on. I enjoyed the games immensely. There were so many right up until last night as North Carolina and TCU, former IU commitment quarterback Josh Hoover led TCU to a huge win last night, and watched a lot of that. I didn't watch it all, but big games, lots of games over the weekend, lots of top 10 matchups, lots of top 10 losses because of that. So the AP poll, which will come out today, will be shaken up a bit. Notre Dame, they go down, but I wonder who was the better team there. They're starting a freshman quarterback. Holy smokes. Is it CJ Carr, I think? Man, he looked pretty dang good for a freshman. So looking forward to talking to Don as he will join us here today. Getting several messages at the moment right now, but so we may have to look forward to getting Don on here in just a little bit. I think he'll join us in about 10 minutes. We'll get Don's take on the Indiana game this weekend as they take care of Old Dominion 27-14, but probably not to start. Most people expected, not to start that I expected really, but you look back last year, Indiana did not exactly knock it out of the park in that first game. I don't think they covered the spread last year over Florida International, but there's plenty of other places that are in worse shape. Heath mentioning Kalen DeBoer feeling the heat in Bama already. Probably so, after they open up the season with a loss to unranked Florida State. Man, that was a surprise as well. Not surprised to see Notre Dame go down to Miami and lose. I mean, they've got Carson Beck in Miami. That dude has got, I love the eyes he has as a quarterback. He's got what I call dead eyes. He just looks like there's no emotion when he's behind center. Love that. That's what you want to see, I think. Yeah, Josh Hoover is real good. He started all of last season for TCU, and so they've got a solid quarterback at it. And there are a lot of teams that look good to start the season. And the thing is, there's plenty of teams that can and will improve. But who says these other teams are not going to improve? Illinois looked very, very good from an offensive standpoint. They put up a ton of points. Coach Griff will join us in a little while. And We'll get his take on all of that as well. Indiana, yeah, they're okay. They dominated. I think where they were wanting to, the offensive line, but questions. The defensive line, they gave up 2 gigantic runs. The only true problem the defense had was 2 runs they gave up. Unfortunately, they were both touchdowns and both over 75 yards. Where one was 475 yards, the other one was 78 yards. Huge plays. Indiana did not give up plays like that all of last season. And they give up 2 in the first game. Probably a little disconcerting for Brian Haynes and crew, but they'll get it brought around. Yeah, Roman Hemby is a big man, bad man. He went for over $100 yards rushing on his day. Also had Kaelon Black, who had a good day as well. Got up close to 100 yards. And then Beebe did a bunch of running in the second half. So they've got 3 good running backs that they can go to. The running game looked very solid. We'll break all that down with Coach joins, just as you can see the some of the scores from the weekend rolling by. How about Ohio State knocking off number 1 Texas? But number 1 Texas looked far from number 1 to me, as I expected. I mean, that was all hype. I don't know that there's ever been a more hyped number 1 team that was just based on hype than Texas was. Yeah, a lot of hype. And then, of course, Bill Belichick. Man, they got smoked by TCU and Josh Hoover, who I was just talking about. I mean, I don't know what even the final score was on that. I'll have to get those scores pulled up, but man, they were rolling. It was like 20-7 at the half, I think, before I started kind of losing a little bit of interest in that game, just because I knew it was which direction it was going to go, and I wanted to head off to sleep. So, but some great games over the weekend. Got to watch a lot of college football, and Iowa State. Of course, they started it off with that win. Then we had the big upset with South Florida knocking off Boise State. Illinois, future Indiana opponent, 52 points they put up. Their offense looked very good. And Indiana's offense, not so much, just behind right now. Ohio State beats Texas 14-7. Penn State, they put up 46 at home against Nevada. Clemson and LSU, man, former coach Tom Allen, the defensive coordinator there at Clemson, you can't put a lot of blame on him. They gave up 17 points in the game, but Clemson's offense unable to do anything in the second half of that game as they get blanked and lose 17-10. Georgia 45-10 over Marshall. Oregon 59 points they put up. A lot of points. That was on Montana State. And in Florida State, unranked Florida State, they're back, baby. 31-7, they beat Alabama. Number 8 Alabama, that is. So, yeah, things are not going well for our friend Kalen DeBoer down in Tuscaloosa right now, and I'm sure that there is a lot of grumbling happening down there, without question. The Michigan Wolverines, they get a solid win as well as they knock off New Mexico 34-17. Most of their offense coming in the first half as they put up 24 points in the first half. But Florida, our friend K-Bro, the Gators, they played Long Island University. I will say I didn't know they had a football team. 55-0 on that one. SMU, they get a nice opening win. Kansas State, I mentioned them. They this week they played North Dakota, and that was a battle. So I expect to see Kansas State drop further in the poll. 38-35. Man, you play those Dakota teams, there's no fun in playing them. I'll tell you that. Let's see. Texas A&M, they get an opening win over UTSA. It's University of Texas San Antonio. Ole Miss, they get the prize, or the second place prize for points, 63-7 over Georgia State. Unranked Ole Miss, I might add. No, they're number 21. My bad. Iowa State, who Iowa plays this week. It's a game to keep an eye on, because if Iowa happens to win that game, they're going to end up being ranked. That'll give Indiana 3 consecutive ranked opponents to play coming up shortly in their season as it moves along. Texas Tech looks like it gets the prize of the day, 67-7 win over Arkansas Pine Bluff. And let's see. But that was for big fun weekend. And I enjoyed the heck out of it. I've got to tell you, I enjoyed watching all those games, laying back and watching them, getting out and tailgating with some folks going through there. The crowd was pretty decent for IU. Of course, at halftime, it really kind of dispersed. And man, it must be message day today. They're coming in left and right, going to have to get those turned down. Everybody reaching out. What's going on? It's football time, peoples. It's football time. How did you see the weekend? What were your thoughts? Obi-Wan Belichick left the force in Foxborough. Yeah, that not a good start for Bill Belichick and his girlfriend. She doesn't have a lot of stuff to publicize this week. And not only that, they've got that series they're supposed to be doing on TV. But for Indiana, yeah, Fernando Mendoza was just off a bit. And there wasn't I'm not sure if it was with purpose. The offense looked very vanilla, but we'll talk more about that with Don as he joins us next. We're back with more from Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after these messages.
Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemooreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth Sour Mash Bourbons, Sweet Mash, and Hard Road Ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular Toasted Coconut Rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Tuesday with the holiday weekend. Joined now by the voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fischer. Don, Indiana gets off to a start that they want with a win. It wasn't as pretty as a lot of people probably expected it to be, but wins are wins, and the biggest growth is usually between weeks 1 and 2 for a team. So
get a little time to give them some grace period, but they did get the win. Probably not as smooth on offense as people would have liked to see. And other than the two big plays on defense, the defense looked good, but you can't ignore that those two plays happened.
Yeah, exactly right. But like Sig said in the press conference yesterday, deja vu all over again. The Florida International game last year was very similar, and he pointed out that the crowd, of course, left at halftime, or a good portion of it certainly did, especially the student body section of it. I talked with somebody this morning that said it was scorching out there in the heat of the day. Well, the heat of the day was like in the low 80s, which we haven't had that kind of heat experience all summer long until just the last week and a half, which it's actually been about as beautiful as it could possibly be in regard to the temperatures that we've had and the low humidity. But look, here's the real story of the whole thing. We're still not a football school in the sense of a fan base that understands their role in college football. And when that happens, then things will change dramatically. But all I can tell you about the first game was I think the coach indicated that he was not pleased with what he saw out there. Obviously, it was a win, but it wasn't good enough in his mind. And that tells me that there'll be a lot of work put in this week and the next several weeks now to get this team at the right level that he believes it should be at.
Yeah, last year defensively, they were so stingy on the run game. And of course, that was the little bit of a bugaboo this year, although it's two plays. You take those two plays away. Right. I know we're playing ifs and buts, but it's the truth. One of them was kind of a bust, and the other one just, I think, caught everybody off guard. But other than that, there was no passing game. They throw for 96 yards total passing the whole day. And you take that 150 whatever yards of those two plays off, and they were pretty much shut down. But those plays did happen. Those are busts that you have to get fixed, whatever that happened to be, whether it was a defensive or communication breakdown, and you move forward. And Old Dominion is not exactly – they're probably the best of the three non-conference teams are going to play. So they got a pretty good a test there to move forward, I think.
Well, and here's the other thing, Jim, that I think people, the real, to me, the biggest challenge from Saturday, or probably the biggest negative, was the fact that they got the ball down inside the 5-yard line on 3 different occasions and couldn't push it in. I don't know why that is, other than the fact that guys missed assignments, those kinds of things. All I do know is this. This team was the most efficient in the country last year in the red zone of any team in college football. And if that can change, get back to that scenario, then you've got something going for you. And I believe that they've got something going. And here's the other thing. Their running game was terrific throughout the ball game, except for down in the red zone, especially in those close quarter situations. I believe they'll get that fixed. I really do. I mean, to me, it doesn't make sense that they did not get the ball in the end zone those 3 times they had it inside the 5. And my gut feeling on it is there just had to be some breakdowns that they can fix.
Yeah, I agree, because the offensive line dominated for the rest of the day. If you look at Indiana's rushing statistics, not only did Roman Hemby go over 100 yards rushing, Kalon Black was at 92 yards. He's almost had 2 guys. And then Beebe, who got a ton of the carries in the second half, he got 73 yards. And as a team, they rushed for over 5 yards per carry. That's a damn good day. You'll take that all day and twice on Tuesday.
Right.
So, yeah, the running game was in great shape. The passing game looked like it was a little off. I don't know if that was by design. Elijah Surratt did not really get targeted hardly at all. I know at one point we're like, he hasn't even been thrown to yet, and it finally ends up getting 5 targets on the day. Not sure if that's just no idea if that was with purpose or why that happened, but it happened.
Well, here's the quarterback taking he took the blame, so to speak, for his poor performance in the ball game. And I don't even think it was a poor performance. I just think he was off a little bit. And look, your first ball game, there's all kinds of kinks that have to be worked out. That's normal. And even if you blew them out on Saturday, it would have been the same thing. The coaches would have been harping on this that didn't happen, that didn't happen, assignments that were missed, first time jitters, whatever the case may be. Your first ball game is not going to be perfect on most occasions. Not to say that there aren't teams that have had those kind of ball games, but in Indiana's case, they didn't have a great performance on Saturday, and yet they won the ball game basically going away. So you look at it from that perspective, you've got a football team that's very capable of fixing all the issues that took place.
And like I said earlier, it's the old saying is most teams make their biggest growth between weeks 1 and 2, when you can see exactly what you need to fix, because you're not going against yourself, your own team. You went against somebody else who was purposely doing everything they could to stop you, and now you go in and fix that. So it'll be interesting to see what the look is this week going forward as Indiana now comes in to take on a Kennesaw State team with a familiar face to Indiana fans at quarterback. Dexter Williams behind center, and we know that he likes to run the ball.
There's no question. And Dexter, in his short stint at Indiana, did a tremendous job of running the football. Unfortunately, he suffered an injury that, the thing you hated to see was him getting hurt when he was at IU. And I guess it happened to him again at Georgia Southern. I don't think he played a lot down there, and now he transfers to Kennesaw State. He runs the offense in that particular ball game. He is a very good quarterback running the football. His passing, I think he's got a good enough arm, all those kind of things. He just wasn't as accurate as you might expect in some cases when he was here, but he didn't have that much of an opportunity to show himself either. So it'll be interesting. First of all, the thing about the thing about Kennesaw State that bothers me is how they held Wake Forest to just 10 points in that ball game. That tells you that their defense must be decent, if nothing else. Because Wake Forest, generally speaking, is a pretty good football program. And they've had some really good coaching down there at times. So I don't know much about Wake Forest this year, and I don't know that much about Kennesaw State. All I do know is they gave Wake Forest all they could handle, and you can't take them lightly coming into this matchup.
No, and that's a solid P5 or P4 team that they gave all that to. So, and now they're going to have another opportunity. This is their time to shine. This is their time to make a little hay, get noticed a little more. So they're going to take advantage of that, and they're going to look at this past game and think that maybe they can find some holes to attack this Indiana defense. I haven't graded this. It's interesting. It'll be interesting to see what Coach Cignetti thinks about how his defensive line did on were those couple of breakdowns. Was that just a communication miss? What actually happened with those plays? Because that was the biggest question for the defense last year. That team led the nation in allowing the least amount of rushing yardage, but they lost a lot of great guys, Linnell Carr Jr. and James Carpenter and so on and so on. So that was probably the biggest replacement. We know what they did with the offensive line. It's how this defense is going to play out.
Right. There's no question. I mean, every team needs to go through that first ball game to work out the kinks, and without question, Indiana had some kinks, and they've got to fix those. But it was still a going away type of win for this Indiana football team. Two big plays in the contest, and one came at the beginning of the game, and one came at the end of the ball game that made it look a lot less impressive than it could have been.
And they still put up 500 yards of offense. So it's not like they went out and they did anything bad. And the rushing yardage is a good thing to see, because we know that Fernando Mendoza can throw the ball. That's not even in question. We know that there are great receivers that can catch the ball. So, but that all comes in with timing. A lot of timing involved with those, as opposed to running plays where it's a lot quicker, bang, bang. But to see that is a very positive sign for the running game. And I'm sure the passing game will come along, and we'll probably see a lot more of that this week.
Yeah, Fernando Mendoza did not have as sharp a performance as he wanted, and he took accountability for it. I like what he said after the game and what he said to the media after the ball game about this is on me and I've got to get better, those kinds of things. That's a guy that understands, look, I didn't play my best football game, and I know I'm a lot better than what I showed out there today, and this will take place. I don't think there's any question about that. And look, and they had a couple of mistakes from some of the best players on this football team on Saturday. Omar Cooper drops a ball that should have been a touchdown. And that just doesn't happen very often. I mean, you'll see, and Elijah Surratt last year had 2 or 3 ball games where he had a drop here or a drop there, which is uncharacteristic of him as well. So the game of football is not a perfect game. If it was a perfect game and you were playing perfectly, you'd score every time and you make the stop every time. It just doesn't happen that way all the time. So I'm not discouraged in any way, shape, or form about what happened this past Saturday. I look at it kind of like Coach Sig did, is it's deja vu all over again, and we're going to get this thing fixed. And that's the most important factor.
Yeah, because another thing that I haven't mentioned, I don't believe that that Old Dominion took a snap on the Indiana side of the field. Could you think about the 2 scores? Well, they were 75 yards long. Of course, that came from way back. And other than that, they were held to virtually nothing. So I from my knowledge, I don't think they had the ball in Indiana's side of the field. Indiana's defense did a good enough job of that. So a lot of it's getting overlooked because of some of the perception of Indiana of the drop ball. There's a touchdown. The failures in the red zone to score. There's a couple more touchdowns that they should have and normally would have had. And the perception of this game would have changed greatly with just a couple of plays here and there. It didn't. So we're probably overanalyzing it, or maybe I'm overanalyzing it. And we'll probably see a much different outcome this weekend.
Generally speaking, all of the pundits, me included, we all go overboard on the negatives and really probably rarely give the positives enough due.
That's no truth, no doubt to that, because it kind of sticks out to you. Yes, it sticks out to you, and it's just like some of the teams that lost this weekend. Notre Dame loses, but you know what? I think they're going to be a pretty damn good team yet. So they've got a freshman starting. So it's week 1 is not the time to jump on or off of a ship, man. It's just week 1, and it's
exactly.
And I know as a coach, you're so glad to get that out of the way. What's up next for you, Don?
Obviously, the talk show on Thursday night. That's the big thing coming up. We're at Hoosier Hanks, as we are always. 7:05 will be the airtime for the show. Coach Sig will be with us for about 40 minutes this week, and then we'll have Bryant Haynes, the defensive coordinator, as our coach for the last couple of segments of the show. So we're looking forward to Bryant. He is an interesting guy to talk to, and one of those people that has been an architect of one of the best defenses in the country for many years now.
Absolutely love Bryant. And has he had his baby yet?
I can't answer that question. I have not seen any news on that.
I have not either. I know that they're getting close. So we'll find out. There you go. You could have a scoop on Thursday, Don.
Well, here's the thing. We hope that the baby isn't born at 7:05.
No, not unless it happens at Hoosier Hanks, right?
And I know that's not going to happen.
Don Fischer, the voice of the Hoosiers. I know you're already catching him. You're turning down your TV and you're turning up the radio, as everybody as always has. Appreciate you, sir, and I will see you on Thursday.
Thanks, Jim. Appreciate you.
You betcha. The voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fischer, joining us on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. More coming up when Coach will join us, and we'll recap this weekend of all things that went on, as there were plenty, as I spoke about. Indiana getting the 27-14 win over Old Dominion. Now they move on to take on Kennesaw State, who they gave Wake Forest all they wanted. And this is the time of year, I think, that a lot of you will see the upsets early on, because if you're not ready, or if you make just a couple mistakes, like Indiana, that game right there that they just played this past weekend, they were not even close to being in danger of losing that game. And the only reason we're really talking about it is because of the two big plays. If those guys don't get loose for that 75 and 78-yard touchdown, Joseph, the running back, who ran for 179 yards, and I don't have to go back and look. I can guarantee you that's the most yardage Indiana gave up to a single running back all of last season, because they gave up less than 100 yards a game last season, and that was throughout the Big Ten. Couple of freak plays, and boom, you saw them go. But Indiana was never in danger of this game. That's the thing that people should take away. And it was just, in the game of football, you can be off just this much, and it makes a huge difference. The passes, the drop by Omar Cooper Jr., that was a wide open touchdown. The inability to not get in the end zone from the red zone was surprising, I've got to tell you, because Indiana's offensive line dominated on the day. They put up 500 yards offense, 309 of it on the ground. As a team, they averaged 5.4 yards per carry, and that is on 57 carries. That's a hell of a day. So 2 touchdowns on the ground as well. They'll be fine. I'm going to be interested. It's going to be interesting to see what the passing game looks like this week. But we'll keep on checks and see how much better Fernando Mendoza improves. He was 18 of 31 for just 193 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 110 quarterback rating. Now, the player for the quarterback, rather, for Old Dominion, Joseph was actually the quarterback. I said that he was the running back. He only throws for 96 yards total in this game, 11 of 22, quarterback rating of 59.4. So Indiana will look a lot better this week, I'm thinking. But we will, UCLA was awful. Boy, highly disappointed. I expected a lot more out of UCLA, and didn't happen. Peebo Tutt pointing out the Big Ten was 16-2 for first week. Only UCLA and Northwestern lost, and both of them looked really bad. Northwestern, that's not a shock, but I was surprised by how UCLA lost. So, yeah. Rick says he was at the game, and that first long run just kind of shook everybody up. Everyone got over that by the time the second one happened, and everyone woke up again. Yeah, they were just shockers because Indiana had done, like I said, they didn't take a snap on Indiana's side of the field, people. That's pretty damn good. Lot there to you're not going to give up those kind of runs, but you're going to be facing a lot of teams that have better athletes than James, Joseph, who got loose for those big runs. We've got lots more coming up. The coach will join us. Plenty more to get to. Glad to have you along, no matter what, where, or how you're listening, whether it's one of our great radio station affiliates like 97.7 ESPN, The Ref, always the right call in Evansville, or in the region, on the voice of the region, 1230 AM, 104.7 FM WJOB, and in Fort Wayne on Fort Wayne Sports Station, 1380 The Fan. You've already got it in the right spot on your radio dial. Keep it there throughout your day and throughout your travels to stay updated on the best in sports. If you're following along on social media, you know the drill. Please hit the like button. It is a big help to us. And if you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button. More coming up from Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Jim Coyle with you as always. We're back with it and more after
these messages.
Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's COYLE, to receive a discounted fundraiser. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth Sour Mash Bourbons, Sweet Mash, and Hard Road Ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle with you on this Tuesday, post Labor Day weekend, short week. Gotta love that because that just kind of I love the 3-day holiday weekends, especially when the Monday is the holiday. It's the gift that keeps giving. You get the big 3-day weekend. Then you get the short week on top of it. Gotta love it. I do, without question. How was your weekend? Looking forward to Coach joining us in a little while and talking about some of these games. I watched a lot of football over the weekend. Ohio State looked very good, but how good? Don't know, because you don't really know how good Texas is or is not. They offensively didn't look greatly impressive, so you don't know how good the Ohio State defense really is. But again, it's the first game for everybody. And the teams that look really good offensively, those are the ones that should scare you, because that shows you talent is there. Oregon. Is Oregon maybe the best team in the Big Ten? Don't know. We'll find out, because some teams are already ahead of the game, and a team like Indiana offensively is still putting it together. You've got a new quarterback, which obviously there was some difference there. There was not the continuity that we thought that we would see, especially with Elijah Surratt. And I'd hate to keep pounding on that, because it's not like it was a terrible day, but of the, 18 connections, I should say, 31 attempts, but 18 receptions. EJ Williams Jr. led the way. He caught 5 balls for a total of 45 yards. Omar Cooper Jr., he brought in 2. One of those was a 46-yarder. He had 52 yards on the day. Elijah Surratt had 3 catches, but only 5 targets. I don't know. Again, Indiana did such a good job running the ball that the passing game wasn't needed. You're not going to show as much as people would think. You've got games coming up against Illinois. That is the biggest game. I'm going to call that the biggest game of Indiana's season, which you can agree or disagree with it. I know that they go to play at Penn State. They go to play at Oregon. They go to play at Iowa State or at Iowa. But those are road games, number one. 2 of those are against teams in the top 5. Illinois is the team that Indiana is battling with to be known as that other Big Ten team, because when people think of the Big Ten, they're going to think of Ohio State. They're going to think of Oregon. They're going to think of Penn State first. Then they're going to think of Michigan. Now, Michigan's got a freshman quarterback. I was really impressed with Notre Dame's quarterback, CJ Carr. Dude's a freshman. So Notre Dame is going to be a team to be reckoned with. Now, yeah, we've got another game coming up. Andrew pointing out Wisconsin will play Alabama, and that, I believe, that's in Tuscaloosa. Wisconsin, I think that they just looked okay. So, and that game's going to be in Tuscaloosa. If they were to lose, yeah, that would be a bad deal. I don't know. There would be a lot of consternation and wailing and gnashing of teeth in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, if that were to happen. But we'll see. I'm not sold on that one. Like he says Kalen DeBoer's buyout is like 60. No, it's like 70 million. So 5 points out that CJ Carr got better as the game progressed. Exactly. And that is what you love to see. That's a learner. That's someone who is learning and gaining confidence. I'm not going to try to rank or judge Fernando Mendoza's. Yeah, I guess I will. That's what I'm here for. I think it was maybe a B minus on the day. But again, I don't know what the plan was. So I cannot, crack on something and say, you know what, maybe they were designed not to do this and not to do that. The running game looked really, really good, save for the red zone. Now that would be an area of concern. But I know that as the coaches, Bob Bostat and Curt Cignetti and the running backs coaches, they're all going back and say, all right, what did not work here? Why did we not get in? How did the hell did Old Dominion stop us on the goal line with a team that was so good at that last season and that is better, much better equipped this season with the run on the offensive line and with running backs? A little surprising. But, yeah, Brian points out, if you take out the drop TD pass to Cooper and Mendoza had a decent day, yeah, that's not unfair. And again, I don't think that they're trying to show a lot, because it's not going to take that much to beat Kennesaw State. While they gave Wake Forest all they wanted, I think that they're one-dimensional offensively. Now, while Indiana gave up 218 yards rushing, the bulk of that came on 2 plays. So it's going to be interesting to see how they shut down Kennesaw State this week. And then, of course, Indiana State. That is that one should have been the first game. That's just they're just not that good as they prepare for Illinois the week after that. That's going to be, Big Ten plays is going to be interesting. And Indiana's going to have to take advantage of these early season opportunities. So they have to get better and get better fast. They don't have time to wait around. I pointed out Illinois had a great weekend. Offensively, they looked very, very solid. They have a returning quarterback. They have a lot. Their offensive line is greatly experienced. I think they have the second most starts in the country at the offensive line position. So they're going to have to get this defensive line up to snuff. Indiana's defensive line, because they're going to get tested in a few weeks when the Illini come to Bloomington. Not only that, after that Illinois game, the first month, the first straight month, Indiana gets 4 straight home games. Then after that, they only have 3 out of their next 8 games at home. So you have to make sun while the sun is shining. Indiana definitely needs to start this season 4-0, if not 5-1, if we're going to talk college football playoffs again. But that's a oh wow, I didn't even check it. Jim and Pete in first place after the first weekend of Pick'ems. That's crazy. I haven't even looked at that. The first year they had the weighted picks, and by that it's from 0 to 10 points, and you select which games you think are the most important or worth the most points from 10 down to 1. I have to look at mine when I get a chance. That's interesting. Ha. Well, no cheating going on there, people. Can't cheat. So that's a little surprising. I gotta say. So looking forward to that. Don't forget to go to the Pick'ems, because it's a long season, people. But yeah, you can add the weight to the games that you want to make worth the most in those. And got a jacket, or we got all kinds of things we can give away at the end of this. I won't win it, I promise. And even if I were, I'm not eligible to win per me. I set that rule. Brian's a close second with 42. All right, we'll have to check all that out. Daniel had a great weekend, birthday weekend. It was his 70th birthday. Daniel, congratulations. Happy birthday. Oh, how about that? Yeah, we didn't talk about that. How about that punt return? Man, that was electric. Great to see from Indiana special teams. And my favorite part about that whole play was, and I'll have to go back and look again to see who just set up the block with his back to the defender. The smartest thing he could have done. As the runner came his direction, he just turned around and gave his back up to the defender to shield him. Because that's the smartest thing you could do. You cannot get called for a penalty. You can't get called for illegal hands, illegal block in the back. All he needed to do was shield those guys, and I think he actually got 2 of them knocked out of the way by doing that. But that is what kicked off that run. Very smart, very smart. Too often, how many times do you see guys just make a dumb play, a dumb, unnecessary block on situations like that? Too often. But it didn't happen this time, and that's all that matters. Congratulations to Indiana as they get the win. Lots more coming up. Coach Griff will join us when we return. We'll talk about last weekend's games and the ones coming up. Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Jim Coyle with you as always. Back with more right after these messages.
If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth Sour Mash Bourbons, Sweet Mash, and Hard Road Rye, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular Toasted Coconut Rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, on this Tuesday, post-holiday Tuesday. Glad to have you along. Coach Griff should be joining us in a little bit as we'll get you caught up on everything that has happened over the weekend and what is coming up as more games. They keep on rolling, baby, as we'll head into week 2 of the college football season and heading into week 3 of high school for that matter. But what were your take for the weekend? Belichick gets beaten. Arch Manning gets beaten. All the hype kind of went by the way of the wayside there over the weekend. Top 10, a lot of top 10 games. Three top 10 teams in action that lost. Of course, 2 of those were top 10 matchups. Alabama was not one of those as they lose to unranked Florida State, who, boy, have they had an up and down few seasons. Mike Gundy, is he back in it? Oklahoma State coach Mike Gundy and Oregon coach Dan Lanning are unexpectedly giving their week 2 matchup between their teams some extra juice. While speaking on his radio show yesterday, Gundy said Oklahoma State spent around $7 million on its team over the past 3 years before referring to how much the Ducks have spent on their roster in recent years. I think Oregon spent close to $40 million last year alone, Gundy said. So that was just 1 year. Now I might be off a few million. Gundy made several other comments about Oregon's resources. He said it'll cost a lot of money to keep Ducks quarterback Dante Moore and that he believes Oregon's budget should determine the programs they schedule outside the Big Ten. Oregon is paying a lot of money for their team, Gundy said. From a non-conference standpoint, there's coaches saying they should play teams with similar budgets. Thoughts? That's a thought. On Monday night, during his weekly news conference, Lanning responded, of course, if you want to be a top 10 team in college football, you better be investing in winning. We spend to win, Lanning said when asked about Gundy's comments. Some people save to have an excuse for why they don't. I can't speak on their situation. I have no idea what they've got in their pockets over there. Well, it's kind of odd because Oklahoma State is, until he passed, they were the benefactor and probably still are of, I forget his name, T. Boone Pickens, right? T. Boone Pickens, big money man. So I'm a little surprised that that's coming from there, but maybe they're not getting the juice from the T. Boone Pickens estate like they used to. Last year, Georgia coach Kirby Smart referenced Oregon's resources. And let's be honest, Oregon seems to have more resources than most, if not all. But he said in an SEC media day that he wishes he could get some of that NIL money that Oregon alum and Nike founder Phil Knight has been sharing with Dan Lanning. I think it's impressive that guys like Kirby have been signing the number 1 class in the nation without any NIL money this entire time, Lanning jokingly said in response to Smart during Big Ten Media Days last year. Obviously, Coach Smart took a little shot at us, but if you want to be a top 10 team in college football, you better have great support. We have that. Well, he's not hiding from it. Coach Griff joins me now, just talking about the haves and the have-nots, I guess, is people talking about, why even make those comments? That's just the dumbest thing to do. So it sounds like you're already making an excuse to lose because there's a lot of other teams that have to play Oregon. then don't schedule them. If you're going to complain like that, then don't schedule them, is my take. I mean, Gundy's a funny dude anyway. I'm a man. I'm a man. Take a shot at me. Come at me. He's a man. I think you're muted there, Popeye. If you're not, there you go. Yeah, we can't hear you, but you'll get your mic turned on here in a second, I think. Doesn't look like it's coming on at all, but yeah, I'm a man. I wish I had that quote. You just keep talking, and when I hear you, I'll let you know. I do have that quote. Here we go.
If you want to go after an athlete, one of my athletes, you go after one that doesn't do the right things. You don't downgrade him because he does everything right and may not play as well on Saturday, and you let us make that decision. That's why I don't read the newspaper, because it's garbage, and the editor that let it come out is garbage. Attacking an amateur athlete for doing everything right. And then you want to write articles about guys that don't do things right and downgrade them, the ones that do make plays. Are you kidding me? Where are we at in society today? Come after me. I'm a man. I'm 40. I'm not a kid. Write something about me or our coaches.
There you go.
Can you hear me now?
I certainly can. Can you hear that, baby? That was a few years ago. It cracks me up that these amateur athletes, yeah, you can't say that anymore, but he's a complainer. You know what?
Yeah.
He hasn't. What have they done? Why are you scheduled this team? No one forced you to schedule. This is an out of conference game. You scheduled it. So why are you complaining?
And I'm sorry, I missed the quote, or I missed that, segment of what he was saying there. Was it Gundy
he's basically
again?
talking about Oregon and their vast resources, that he wishes he had some of that. He said, I think Oregon spent close to $40 million last year. So that was just 1 year. Now I'll be up, maybe off a few million. So I wish we had some of that. Well, you know what? That's a program that was funded by T. Boone Pickens before NIL came along.
And still is.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, these guys, they get half the time about something they really don't need to. And Gundy's one of those guys that has a tendency to speak before he thinks in some respects, but to each their own, I guess you could say. And in this world today, man, you better have what you better be ready to play by the rules and get the money in the coffers somehow, some way, and not be messing around with some of this stuff. And hey, Phil Knight has put a lot of money into Oregon through the years, and now he's going to continue to put money in it. And they've got it in all athletics teams, not just football. They've got it throughout the entire athletic department out there.
Yeah, Robert says the Heisman race is wide open right now. That's a fact now that Arch Manning has been eliminated early. I mean, boy, you want to talk about the hype train, and I'm not blaming him. He didn't really do anything to play into that, but boy, was Texas the most hyped team in the country. And did that find out that that's basically a bust? They only lose 14-7. So it's not like they got their butts whipped, but they just weren't really. They didn't seem like that they had a shot to win that game.
Well, they had the same problem IU did. They couldn't get it in from the 1 yard line. I mean, they try to run quarterback sneak up the middle on the 1 yard line, and there's 6 guys standing right over the center. I mean, I just shake my head sometimes when you get so stubborn down there, and this is my problem with Indiana Saturday when it came to that area of the field. They just wanted to continue to run inside zone, and that's just not a great play against that setup down there when you've got 8 guys, 9 guys, 10 guys standing right within 3 yards of the football. And zone running scheme there is not the best in my opinion, because you're just not going to knock them off the ball enough. That's where you got to have the ability to block down, pull around, and, run power and run counter misdirection and, things of that nature. Now, they did that when Black scored. They actually ran a counter type of play, and they benefited from that. And, that's some of the things that drive me nuts sometimes with defenses or offenses, which is when they get down there, they want to continue to run inside zone. And I'm not against inside zone run play where you're just zone blocking the gaps to your right or to your left. But if you're not knocking the P. Willie out of a defensive front, it's not going to go anywhere. And you better find alternative ways to run the football, whether it's, like I said, running some type of power counter scheme or kicking the ball to the outside. And Indiana just got too stubborn with that on Saturday, trying to make a point. And they came up empty-handed a couple times in a game that, like Cignetti said in the presser yesterday, should have been out of control. It should have been a 56-7 ball game. And unfortunately, that didn't occur, and
they should have won that game 48-0.
Well, yeah, I mean, you take away the couple of the big plays there from Old Dominion. But I think the beauty about Saturday and this is, I think, even Cignetti alluded to this. You've raised the standard when you win a game, but yet you're complaining about how good you didn't play. You know what I mean? It wasn't to the standard that people are accustomed to seeing an Indiana team under Cignetti play, and you never want to lose the fact of or sight of the fact that winning is hard, and you'll never apologize for a win, especially when you haven't won very much at Indiana, even though he had an 11-win season a year ago. It wasn't too long ago. They were 3-9. So, again, you gotta accept the aspect of winning sometimes is ugly, but you never apologize for it.
No, you don't. And first games are always first games.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're for, basically. But, some of these teams that were playing high-profile first games, you don't have a chance to let's just go through the motions.
No.
And that's going to be, I think that's not now, but it won't be too long in the future where that may be different for Indiana with the changes that I expect to come because of what has happened with the SEC and their scheduling philosophy and how things are going to change. But we'll stick to the here and the now. Right now, Indiana has that opportunity. And of their three non-con games, there's probably no question Old Dominion is the best challenge of those.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's what you want to get right off the bat, get it out of the way, find out where you need to work on, what you need to improve on. The offensive lines seem to do their job, except for what happened on the goal line stands. Why were they not able to get that ball into the end zone with an offensive line that was clearly dominant on the day, and a day that Indiana would rush for 309 yards?
In my opinion, Old Dominion was blitzing the gaps, and essentially Indiana was just, their line didn't have a chance. I mean, when you're down there inside the 5, down and especially in the 2-1 yard line, you got 10 bodies right there. And like I was saying earlier, Indiana was trying to run their zone concept plays where everybody has, in simplistic terms here, they're either blocking their nearest gap to their left or right. And when that happens, there's a tendency to get knocked back because you're trying to basically block an area and not in necessary a man in theory. And when you got those many guys up there and they're pounding the gaps and bringing guys from the linebacker position on blitz, you're not going to block those guys. they're going to get through. And that's why I said you got to have the ability to block down, pull guys and kick out and turn up and in like they did on Black's touchdown run from the 4. You secure the gaps by blocking down. You get a chance to get a guy out and either kick out or run through and have a lead blocker. And so I look at that and say that was a mistake in their approach and my mindset, because they got too stubborn trying to do that. They did that first drive where they tried to run it like 3 times in a row and got smashed. And I know Sig said something to the extent they jumped into a front they weren't anticipating to have. And look, I get that. But in today's age of football, you've got the ability to pull out the iPad on the sideline and get all those plays pulled up and say, here's what we need to do, and go A, B, C, and D. And they may have done that, but whatever happened wasn't being communicated enough. So it could have been a planned thing that didn't go as anticipated. And when you play these first games, and kind of what you alluded to a little bit there, Jim, was that you are not quite certain what you're going to get from a team, although it was the same staff from the previous season in terms of what they were going to run structurally, whether it's offense or defense. So, but Indiana's got to reevaluate that down there and have a better plan when things don't go the way they anticipate them going, because you cannot come away inside the 5 with, number one, no points, and let alone just 3. It's kind of that double-edged sword. And I know Sig likes to go for it down there, and you're from the 1 yard line and you think, well, we can get a yard. Well, when you had 3 downs prior to that and you got your, what knocked off, I'm not so sure the answer there was not to kick the field goal to get 3 and settle for, that, but they came away with no points. So it is, those are the things that they'll have to work on first week, like you said, and they'll get their improvement from week 1 to week 2. And like you said, it wasn't good enough.
No, not at all. Daniel wondering if Texas would remain number 1. And I'm like, they're not going to remain in the top 5. I don't know how far they will drop, but it is highly doubtful that they stay in the top 5, especially with some other top 10 teams losing and other top 10 teams winning over top 10 teams.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be a little shakeup. I think Ohio State will assume the number 1 position, and could have, Penn State. I think Oregon's going to make a jump. The most impressive teams to me in the Big Ten last weekend, Purdue and Maryland. Maryland lost their quarterback. He's now the quarterback at Wisconsin, and their number 1 all Big Ten running back is at Indiana, Roman Hemby. Then you've got Purdue. You don't have to explain about Purdue. They pick up a 31-0 win over Ball State. They didn't beat, a top 25 team, but I don't care. That is very impressive for what they were doing last year. Huge turnaround for them. Ball State is, they're an average MAC type team, but
now wait a minute there, Jimmy. You're picking on the alma.
I know. I'm just talking about right now, but I think that was an impressive win for Purdue and their start to the year. You don't give up any points. That means you don't make a lot of mistakes, and you put 31 points on the board, more than Indiana was able to manage.
Mm-hmm. Well, the Brown kid looked pretty decent in their start, and he played against Indiana a year ago. A lot of guys that played in that game Saturday were not around for last year's debacle of a year at Purdue, so they had no tie-in to that season other than a few guys that were still around, like Brown, the quarterback. And so you're correct in the fact that you bring in 70 some odd plus new players, completely flip the roster in that respect. And you go out against another group of 5 team and you manhandle them. It was a 31-0, thrashing, and 14-0 within the first 6-7 minutes of that game. So, those are the type of games that, and then you look at Indiana a year ago, you get to that point where you win one game and you come back, you want that taste again, and you win a second game. And even though you may not be as talented on paper as everyone else may be, you get this mindset that you feel like you can't be beat. And you start getting great practices and you start stacking performances after another. And next thing you know, you're 3-4 wins in a row, and anything can happen then, right? So, you're correct there, and you're right about Maryland. And, I like Locks down there at Maryland. I think he's a good coach. He even said last year he lost his team, and if he had to, he's going to put his office in the locker room if need be, because he wasn't going to go through what he went through a year ago. And the quarterback they have now they've been high on him since they got him. And they looked very impressive in their win yesterday. And that's a team that Indiana will have to go on the road and play at Maryland, right? And, hey, good for them. And then, hey, what about Wisconsin? They beat Miami, who is an upper tier MAC team, and shut them out, and lost the quarterback that went from Maryland to Wisconsin. I think he's done for the year. So
is he?
I think so. I have to double check on that.
It didn't seem like that was that bad. I saw him out on the sidelines afterwards, but he was already wearing a knee brace.
Yeah, that's the other thing. It kind of reminded me of Curtis.
Contact injury. He had already handed the ball off and was just taking his follow-through steps, and boy, he took like one step, and you could tell.
It's crazy. Crazy. The other thing, and I don't want to miss this point, and I made this last night on the tailgate show because went through it A through Z and did all the diagrams of what we were talking about here and why this didn't work and why that didn't work. The other thing that I could not believe Saturday is that Surratt had no targeted throws in the first half.
Yep.
I mean, to me, that's almost malpractice of an offense when your best returning player, All-American player, did not get one targeted throw in the first half and only had maybe 3 the entire day.
5. Had 3 catches.
Yeah.
5 targets. But yeah, I hear you. I wonder, I'm like, okay, was this by design? Is it just Fernando Mendoza getting into because he has a lot of weapons. You got EJ Williams and you got Omar Cooper Jr. So it's,
and when you look at the stats at the end,
a tight end. So now I was a little surprised there were no like swing passes, no throws to the running backs at all. Which
they didn't do any RPO game Saturday against Old Dominion, which was a big part of their offense a year ago. They did run some screens to the tailbacks, but they did not do anything to kick the ball to the perimeter, whether it be running a toss sweep action, quick pitch, or like you said, running some type of bubble screen to the wide receiver or to the tailback in that regard. And again, maybe they skinned it. They, pared that game plan down to get the best, out of their group of 11 out on the field that, hey, this is what we can run effectively and hang our hats on, and it should be enough to beat this Old Dominion team because these are the plays that we've done highly efficient throughout camp, and that's kind of way they got to. But I just thought the offense lacked imagination, creativity at times, and Shanahan's always been a guy that I always thought, and he still is. I mean, he didn't lose it, but he has a way of, play design and creativity of running the same stuff, but from a different look and adding a piece to the equation, like you said, throwing it to the running back or, this or that. But no RPO game. There was never a back shoulder throw yesterday, and if there was, it wasn't a great throw. And Fernando looked like he was trying to guide the throw instead of just throwing the football. And he did that on the goal line with EJ Williams one-on-one. And that was just a bad throw, and he overthrew 2 guys for touchdowns. So, and don't forget Omar dropped one. So all in all, I said offensively, they were about a C+ on Saturday. And part of that was because of their inefficiency inside the 5 or 10, however you want to look at it. And then the fact they missed some plays that they needed to have in terms of, the big gash plays that unfortunately the defense gave up. And one of them was Wyatt's fault. The second big run that Joseph kid had, Wyatt was the defensive end, and he should have been up the field and containing the quarterback, but he chased it after they were running a cross blitz with their backers and Fisher and Jones, and he's got to contain there, and he chased it. And once he did that, there was nobody. That kid saw it and took it and ran with it, and 88 out the gate, and you'll learn the hard way on that one.
Yeah, with the success they had running the ball, 309 yards rushing, which is not something we've seen a ton of from Indiana.
No, they kicked their butt.
I wonder if that was by design, and that with the importance of those first 3 conference games when they hit, beginning with Illinois, if there is not some truth to not showing much. Because you didn't have the targets that you would have expected to see, while other teams are not going about it that way. But man, they spent the day just chewing up the ground with multiple guys. Another positive: only 3 penalties for 25 yards. That is, for a first game, that's impressive to me, especially along the offensive line, not getting penalized. They led first downs 28-11. 10 of 17 on third down conversions, which probably could be a little bit better.
Well, that was almost 60%. That's pretty darn good. But if you took the score away and just looked at the statistics of that game Saturday, no score, just looked at the statistics, you would have said that game was a 60-0 ball game. Based upon the time of possession, the number of first downs they had, the third down conversions, so forth and so
plays.
Yeah, so and forth. You would have said that game was a blowout. And when you took the revealed the score and saw 27-14, you would have been, what in the world happened? Because between the 2 10-yard lines, they ran it up and down the field on them. It just, when they got inside the 10, they just did not execute well enough. And what was most impressive to me, Jim, too, and I don't know if you got a chance to listen to these kids at the press conference afterwards when they talked after the game, the maturity of how they handled that and how they answered tough questions about the day, whether it was Mendoza, whether it was Hemby, whether it was, whoever that was yesterday in those pressers. Man, I was impressed with those kids. They said what they had to say in a very poignant and mature way. Responsibility for not doing and living to the standard of scoring. And when you get inside that, 10-yard line or in the red zone, Mendoza was critical of his play. Even Hemby, who had 110 yards, says he's got to be better inside the 5. That tells me a lot about that football team in that locker room. And you should feel really good how those kids answered, because I think that's a peek into that locker room of those leadership guys there from A to Z.
And watching not just 1, not 2, but 3 solid runners for Indiana. Roman Hemby, of course, led the way, averaged 4.8 yards per carry on 23 carries. That's a load. That's a good load. Kalon Black gets 17 carries, 92 yards, 5.4 yards per carry. Then you go to Lee Beebe Jr. and 11 carries, 73 yards for a 6.6 average per carry. So it just kept getting a little bit better for the running backs, and all have a little bit something. So that was a very positive sign for
There's
Indiana.
a ton of positives in that game, and very, very few negatives. But unfortunately, in this world, those have a tendency to overshadow the positives. And that's okay. You got a standard to live to. You didn't live to it. And that was evident.
Well, you don't learn by glowing about your positives.
Oh, heck no.
You've got to work on the negatives. But we'll get back to more of that. Coach Griffith with us. I'm Jim Coyle, Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Back with more after these messages.
The ISC Sports Network is your home for sports content across the Hoosier State. Find us live on TV and streaming or archived on our website and our app. The ISC is your one-stop shop for the content you want to see, including high school sports, college sports, and other great events throughout the year. Subscribe to our streaming service and get access to it all. ISC, local lives here.
Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's C-O-Y-L-E, to receive a discounted fundraiser.
If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Tuesday, post-Monday Labor Day weekend. I hope you had a great weekend. Lots of football on the plate to eat. And what are some of the games you watched and enjoyed most?
Oh, man. I'm brain dead because I watched too many of them. I watched the kicking that Mr. Hall of Famer took at NC last night via TCU. That was an embarrassing ball game. They looked horrible. I mean, it was bad. So it's probably not too pleasant in Chapel Hill today. That one, the Florida State Alabama game, of what I caught of that one, Alabama did not look very good in terms of their effort on the field. In some ways, you could say it was also embarrassing how they did not play hard, which I found unbelievable of a Kellen DeBoer team and Kane Womack defensively, especially. That was not good. I was impressed with LSU going into Death Valley and picking up a win over Clemson and Tom Allen. I mean, that was a back and forth, nip and tuck defensive battle, and LSU, who had a tendency to find ways to lose those type of games, came out and found a way to win it. And I think that says a lot about what they may bring to the SEC this year as well. And there was just a lot of really good games. From the Big 12 to, in the Big 10 and ACC. And I thought it was poignant that the SEC lost games, like Alabama lost and some of their other, Texas losing in that regard. And, I want to hear Feinbaum today and see how much he really, talks about Texas the way he was talking about Texas and Arch Manning up to that game on Saturday. You would have thought they would have already given them the trophy. But he'll jump on LSU's bandwagon, I'm sure. But
well, and with good reason. That's an impressive
absolutely.
win. You go to Death Valley, Clemson's Death Valley. That's a tough place to play. And
coached against Clemson back in the day. That's a tough place to play.
That game.
Yeah, that's
absolutely.
That's a tough place to go play. It's loud. there's just a ton of things there, tradition and things that go with it. And for LSU to walk in there and come away with the win, and their defense looked really good, man. Man, their defense looked good. And so, and it wasn't that Clemson was bad. It was just that LSU just made more plays, and sometimes that's the difference. And I tell you, the other team, South Carolina, was impressive in their win on the other day as well. And it'll be interesting to see how they come out of the SEC this year. They're that Indiana type of team in the SEC, doesn't get a lot of love and respect. And all of a sudden you look up and they've won 5 in a row. And next thing you know, they're beating some teams that no one thought they could beat. So that'll be an interesting to see them play. They also had a punt return for a touchdown. Indiana's punt return was the much needed thing on Saturday because it got the crowd back into it and erupted. Number 38, I got to track down his name. That's all. Numbers to me is all that matters. 38 through the best block.
Are you talking about the one where he just turns his back and shielded?
Yeah.
I talked about that earlier. The intelligence, because 99 times out of 100, somebody's going to make a stupid play there and do something with their hands and illegal. And he did the smartest thing he could possibly do, simply turned his back and shielded. I think he caught 2 guys.
Yeah, he got 2. He got the 2 guys that were most important because that was what sprung Brady. Had he not made that block or had done something stupid, block below the waist or pushed in the back, it's coming back. But he did the right thing. He was the left guard at the line of scrimmage in terms of where his alignment was. And so he was running that entire field. And when he saw Brady start to come back to the right, he even changed his course because that was where the return was, so that he was in a position to pick off those 2 guys. And like you said, did the right thing, threw his hands up, did what we call butt blocking, like in basketball type of deal. And that's that technique is taught, especially for what you just said, to not do something stupid. And outside
you cannot
of that,
get called for a flag if you just turn your back and put your hands in the air.
No. And the other thing on that return too, BB was one of the guys that was leading down the sideline, and he was a wrecking ball. He knocked over Becker, who was trying to lead the way, and he just ran right over him. And
I also love Brady because once he got sprung and he got to around the 50, 45-yard line, he waited for several blockers he had a party leading the way. But he let that kind of open, and then boom, he saw the hole, and it was bye-bye birdsong.
Yeah. And I had said on Thursday night that Indiana needed to have the special teams score or set up a score in those first games, because that's the game that can be the big difference in a ball game. And we saw a lot of that Saturday. Look at Kennesaw State. They should have beat Wake Forest, but they missed a PAT, which is bad in itself. And they missed a field goal, and it wasn't, a 60-yarder or anything. So let alone they should have won, but at worst they should have been in overtime with Wake Forest. And that's why special teams is so important in games, whether it's the first game of the year or the last game of the year, because those plays can cost you a game as fast as anything. And then, but on the flip side of it, you set up a score with special teams, baby, you're going to win 90% of those games. And I think that was pretty evident on Saturday with Indiana and South Carolina getting punt returns.
Well, Kirk Ferentz and his Iowa Hawkeyes, they pick up an easy win over Albany. But more importantly for Kirk Ferentz, he tied Woody Hayes as the all-time leader in wins of the Big Ten. That's a pretty huge deal. That's his 27th season. Don't know how long it took for Woody to accomplish that, because they played in less games back.
Yeah, they only played like 8 or 9 games back then at the most, but pretty impressive. And I wouldn't even thought he was even close to Woody Hayes at that, because Woody, I mean, again, Ohio State at that time period was always on national TV, so it was a household name and things like that. Even now, I'm not sure.
Iowa's just been so consistent.
Yeah, I'm not even sure Kirk Ferentz is a household name throughout the country, because Iowa hasn't even run like a national championship or been in any of those games, in his entire career. So, I mean, he's kind of, like you said, quietly gone about winning, and that's what they've kind of done in Iowa. Their game against Albany was good. Wouldn't call it great. I think they only threw for like 45 yards with that new quarterback from.
That was a little surprising, but then again, we're talking about the surprising look of Indiana's offense, who has a quarterback that's been talked about being one of the top picks in the NFL draft.
Sometimes it doesn't go the way we intend it to go when we're writing that script before the season even starts.
Rutgers, they squeaked out a 3-point 34-31 win at home over Ohio. That could have been a bad start to their season. A great start for the Big Ten. Minnesota 23-10 over Buffalo, who has been a pretty good program.
That was a tight ball game. Actually, that score wasn't indicative.
Tight ball game. How about Nebraska and Cincinnati?
Yeah,
I mean
that was
2017. That was, that would have been, and again, a former Indiana quarterback running the helm for the Bearcats. That would have been a horrible.
He made a stupid throw in that game, though, and they had the ball, in that last drive, and it's second down, and he threw one up into the end zone where you didn't need to do that, and it got picked, and that's kind of been his Achilles heel at times, not making the best decisions with the ball in his hands. So, but yeah, I mean, that was a great ball game as well.
Wisconsin, a future Indiana opponent who had, was it Edwards Jr.?
Yeah, Billy Edwards Jr. from Maryland.
Edwards Jr., who transferred from Maryland, goes down in that game, and you said he might be done for the year, and then they've got a transfer from, I think, San Diego State, O'Neal. He came in and finished that game as Wisconsin wins 17-0 over Miami of Ohio. Miami was kind of scrappy in that game.
They're really good. I mean, that's a good win for Wisconsin, because Miami is an upper echelon team in the Mid-American or Group of Five, and that was a nip and tuck game until late in the third, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, let's see. Which game was I talking about?
Wisconsin and Miami.
It was 3-0 at the half.
Yeah, it wasn't a slobber knocker.
3-0. No, it was a slow build. So without Billy Joe Edwards there, Billy Edwards Jr. at quarterback, it took him O'Neal, maybe he didn't expect to come in right off the bat in the first game, but they scored more points with him than without him. I can tell you that.
It says that Edwards is week to week with a sprained knee, which
I didn't think.
But I still don't know if it's a total the truth there as it pertains to his availability. Week to week is one thing.
I would expect to see him back for the Indiana game.
Oh, well, yeah, because I'd be way
into I was thinking of Illinois. Never mind.
Yeah, Illinois,
Illinois, they win big, 52-3 over Western Illinois, which they were completely overpowered, but they looked very good offensively. They scored 31 points in the first half alone. So they're up 31-0 at the half. And that's where Indiana probably should have been, but they weren't. Illinois' offense, possessive Illinois. I hate saying that.
We all get caught up in the Midwest doing that. So
looked very, very good. And that's the benefit of having a quarterback back that has run your offense.
Exactly. Huge difference from a guy that just came in from the West Coast and had his first start Saturday.
Michigan State, they get a pedestrian 23-6 win at home over Western Michigan. A lot of the directional schools for the single. We've already talked about Ohio State and Texas. Penn State 46-11 over Nevada. Their offense, they scored 27 points in the first half, I think.
Yeah, so, they may still be scoring in that game.
Yeah.
And Michigan had a good game.
Oregon, they 17-21 in the first half alone, and they had another 3 touchdowns after the half. But the team that Indiana doesn't play, but could be one to look out for in the Big Ten, the USC Trojans. They put up 73 points this weekend, 28 alone in the second quarter.
Yeah. Yeah, they played a team very similar to what all Big Ten schools play in that regard, and it was a game that they just got on fire and kept rolling. And, you're correct. It's a team to be aware of in the Big Ten this year because they could come out of nowhere. I mean, they should have beat Notre Dame last year. I mean, they turned the ball over twice that resulted in 2 touchdowns for Notre Dame, pick sixes in that game last year. And Riley's been on the hot seat for the last 2 years, and it was good to see them in that regard get off to a hot start. And, Oregon's win was against the FCS opponent, but they are the second ranked team in FCS. So it's not like they're chopped liver. I mean, that's a pretty good ball club in Montana State. Oregon speed and defense looked very, very good there in Oregon. And then lastly, the Michigan Wolverines had a nice win coming off the still sign stealing.
I thought he was suspended. Why was he on the sideline?
I think they chose which 4 games he had to sit. And the first one was, and I think he may be suspended for the next 2 or 3 in a row, if I'm not mistaken. And, but they won, but they lost their best defensive end who got called for targeting. So he will be out the first half at Oklahoma. That's going to be that'll be an interesting ball game. Oklahoma got off to a good start. Kevin Wilson's back there coaching at Oklahoma. And that one will be an interesting ball game Saturday. And I'll tell you, that Bryce Underwood kid, he is legit for a kid that's just a true freshman. Man, does he have a cannon for an arm.
How about CJ Carr at Notre Dame?
He didn't look as good there in the early parts of that game. Now he brought him back to get the tying score after making a couple nice passes and then running it in on the quarterback draw. But you can see where Notre Dame and his youthfulness is going to take a few weeks to them to get on track as a football team. Because overall, offensively, they were pretty stagnant. And I tell you, Jeremiah Love didn't have many, touches either. That's their best player.
Yeah, and again, you wonder sometimes how much of that is by design. So we'll have to say the UCLA, probably one of the biggest disappointments, one of only 2 Big Ten teams that lost. But they didn't, they lose to Utah. So for one, that's not like they're playing nobody.
Yeah, they're
playing a solid team. But they were at home. Tino Sunseri in his first season as offensive coordinator there, the former Indiana OC.
Nico.
And Nico, I'm believing. I heard a lot of people say, you know what, I'm not sold on Nico. And not much offense for the Bruins. Only 10 total points. That 7 points in the second quarter and then a field goal in the third, and that's it. That's all they could put up.
Yeah, it wasn't, again, Utah's a very good football team, and they'll show that in their conference throughout the season. Kyle Willingham is a great coach. Their defense has always been tough, and they've had some skill on offense, but it was a disappointing showing. I think UCLA gave up a bunch of yards rushing in that game, almost similar to Indiana in terms of total yards on the ground. And offensively, not good. So I'm not sure what UCLA will bring to the table this year. We'll have to see. Like I said, everybody will make a significant jump from week 1 to week 2. It always is a reoccurring theme for college football. You'll see a lot of teams that didn't look so well week one that all of a sudden will pop on the radar because they corrected the mistakes and they made improvement.
We'll take a quick break. Jim Coyle with you as always at Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Coach Griff with us. When we come back, we'll talk about the potential changes in the AP Top 25, which is coming out today. Make a few predictions and look at the upcoming schedule a little bit, although it's a week away. We'll talk about that as well. Glad to have you with us. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after these messages. Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles.
If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemooreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth Sour Mash Bourbons, Sweet Mash, and Hard Road Ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular Toasted Coconut Rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, on this Tuesday of the Labor Day weekend. Just coming off of that, which means we get a short week, which, hey, I'll
even
take
better.
That's right, the gift that keeps on giving. Hey, before I forget to mention, Chase Briscoe wins in dominant fashion at Darlington this weekend to propel him, the Mitchell, Indiana native, into the next round of the NASCAR playoffs. He led virtually the entire race. He won all 3 stages in addition to the race, and now leads the NASCAR playoff points. Of course, I think that's the first race into the playoffs, but what a dominant win, man. He wins it for the 2nd season in a row, which is it's one of those tough places to win at, man. But he led 309 of the 367 laps.
Wow.
So that's what you call a dominant blowout win.
Absolutely. And, he's having a heck of a year. I think you said that's his 3rd win of on the year.
No, that's his 2nd win of the season. He
okay,
won
2nd win.
Pocono.
Yeah, that's right.
But this is 2nd year in a row he's won at Darlington, which is just a tough place. It's a funky track. It doesn't. It's not symmetrical. The turns 1, 2, 3, and 4 are not the same. It's kind of like, it's seriously kind of almost like egg shaped.
Yeah.
Where the turns 3 and 4 now, it used to be the opposite way, but are just tighter. But fun race to watch, but always fun to see local guy do well. And Chase is putting himself in great position right now. Of course, you've got 9 more races to go, but man, if you want to win a championship, that's a great way to start.
Well, yeah, getting across that start finish line first helps you a ton, in the points scheme of things. But being in the top 10, which I think he's pretty much done pretty consistently on the year, helps a lot in that points gathering phase. And Should be an interesting finish with only 9 races left.
Yeah, big win for Chase Briscoe. We congratulate him. Hope we ought to get him back on again soon, as he joined us a while back. But man, what a great fun time to that. Now we've also got a lot of great games coming up this weekend in week 2. Not only the Big Ten, but just for everything in college football, the top 25. Which, speaking of the devil, the AP top 25, not out yet, not the new one, but I don't know how far Texas will drop, but I think I think Ohio State assumes the number 1 position and kind of leapfrogs Penn State, but it will still leave the Big Ten sitting at number 1 and number 2. Clemson was sitting 4. They're going to drop. Georgia will move up. Notre Dame's going to drop. Oregon is going to move up, possibly 2 spots. Could have 3 Big Ten teams in the top 5. And Indiana plays 2 out of those 3 on the road.
Yep. There you go for a soft schedule. Yeah, I don't know how all this will play. I mean, when it comes to the real truth, when it gets down to it, because you got the use of ESPN's FPI and SOR, strength of record debate going on, 2 algorithms that are not open. In other words, they don't release how they get the numbers that they get for the FPI or their strength of record, but they're going to use it in the calculations for the playoffs and such. The committee's already said that, which is fine with me, but I think they should open up how they figure out and what are the parameters used in that algorithm on a team's FPI and their strength of record debate, because it's not, they should let it be known and actually broken down by somebody else to see if it's a legitimate algorithm to utilize instead of saying it is. But that will be the debate. Like you said, how far does Texas drop? Well, they played Ohio State, which is also in the top 5. So that, even though they lost that game, it is not a bad loss because they played a better team in that regard. So they may not drop as much in that theory. Just in the same light of, I was trying to point out, there was one that I thought, well, yeah, that's going to really hurt them, because in theory, that was an average team, and they lost to what would be conceived as an average team. Therefore, they would drop pretty significantly in that regard. So it'll be interesting to see how this all shakes out now that we're entering in some of this with the subjectivity of what is a good loss, what's a bad loss, and things like that, to come up with what many people perceive to be the top 10 or top 20 teams in the country.
Yep. Well, it'd be interesting to see what teams like Alabama does. What do they do with them?
That was one I was thinking about. Alabama should drop significantly because Florida State wouldn't be considered a great team.
Unranked. Hey, we've got lots more coming up tomorrow. Appreciate you. Appreciate Coach Griff. And, of course, the voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fisher. Most importantly, thanks to each and every one of you. Back tomorrow to do it again. Until then, I'm Jim Coyle. We'll see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.